To continue with the Messiah, what is the Messiah? The ancient word from the ancient builder race. This is a seed language. It's a language that is not originated on this planet, but it's one of the basic. It's a language out of which our languages have come from. I don't know the name of the language or exactly where it originated from, but all the 5 seed races there's 5 seed languages from all the languages in the world. I think they are, well, here's the ones that I do know. It's Tibetan, Sanskrit, Hebrew, Old German, or the Germanic, the old, I don't know what it is called, the Aryan language, that language, where that, because Sanskrit and German, they have a root. It's called Indo-Germanic, and they go back together to the same root. But then there's these 5 languages that all are based on this one language. Anyways, in this particular language, that's where the word Messiah comes from, and it was called Mashaya Hana, or was it Hava or Hana? Mashaya Hava. No. Sorry. Mashaya Hana. Mashaya Hana. And that means Mashaya Hana, eternal life. Eternal life. And that's what they say, is that the Messiah will come. When I say they say, I mean like in the Christian religion, but I think also in Jewish religion they're waiting for a Messiah in the form of, I guess, a being, like some kind of a humanoid being to come back. I'm not so 100% sure, but I do know that they also have this thing about waiting for the Messiah, and I've never heard that the Messiah is a, well, this is what we're going to talk about now. I've never heard, also from the Jewish tradition point of view, religious point of view, that it's a time when vibration raises to such a degree, light intensifies in this time-space continuum, within our DNA also, because the Earth is being, I was going to say bombarded, but that's such a negative word. The Earth is being showered in light, but also the heart of the Earth is opening up. So the heart and the heartbeat of the Earth itself is increasing, and that's of course from the inspiration. But it's always about resonance. You can be inspired. Inspiration can come, but if you don't have the degree of openness to become inspired, that it's kind of like, what creates a tree, what creates all the plant life? Is it the seed or is it the earth? And it needs both. It needs both. So if you have the perfect seed that comes, but it falls on a desert, let's say on a dry earth that is not fertile, then that seed cannot take root. So it takes both. It takes the inspiration and it takes the reception, being open to that inspiration. And so what is happening now in our time-space vantage point of the solar system, where it's traveling through the universal sector that it is traveling through right now. And when I say universal, what I really mean is within our galaxy, because our solar system is a system within the Milky Way galaxy. That time-space vantage point where we are moving through right now on the solar system's orbit, because everything is in orbit around each other. Everything is in ever greater orbits. Is the photon belt. We have entered the photon belt for 2,000 years. We are going to be moving through the photon belt of the Milky Way galaxy, which is packed in light. It's I don't know so much about it, but I will show you at some point. I'll show you a picture of what the structure looks like, and what it's going to do. It's inspiring us so much. We're getting inspired so much, and the Earth is ripe, and we are ripe. Our DNA is ripe to receive, to resonate with that light, to open up to that light, to recognize it. Why? Because we have been going through the dark for such a long time, such a long time, suffering for such a long time, and what in the end, what is going to heal the suffering is suffering itself, because suffering is going to bring you to the point of going to bring you to the point where you give up, where the egoic mind structure, where the suffering comes from. Because having physical suffering is one thing, but if physical suffering or physical pain, however, shows up in you, and you are in your mind, I was going to say sane, but what I mean is clear. You are clear that you are not suffering in your mind. In other words, you are not suffering in your mind. You are only feeling the physical pain. Then that is a whole other experience. It is a whole other experience. It is the perception of the mind, the interpretation of the mind, the story that makes us suffer. And so when we go with that, believing so deeply in the story of separation, believing so deeply that we are a separate being, and in our story, the story of this body, the story of I am, and then it is everything that ever happened to this body, and it is all the stories about this body that was projected at you. And that conglomerate is completely identified with. And it crowds out, and it covers up or clouds out or veils. Like there's so much static, you can't hear the silence of your soul behind it. And that's your true being. Your soul is who you are. That's the life inside of you. And of course, the soul is an extension of God. Into ever deeper, more intricate form and more density. And when I say God, it is life itself. It is that life force. It is the light. It is the consciousness that everything is made of. And when we go into the matter, at some point there's only space. But that space, no matter how you look at it, when you look at it from an open mind, always what you find is intelligence. Always what you find is unity, is harmony, perfection, is, nothing is random. So what you find is no space and pure consciousness, pure, things. An intelligence that we with our mind, we cannot grasp, but we can marvel at it, and we can recognize it. And we can recognize it in ourselves, and we can recognize that same life in others. So as we are moving through the photon belt, and we're so ripe, with the suffering, yes, because at some point, you've suffered in your mind, you've suffered so much that there's an exhaustion. There's a point of exhaustion, and in that exhaustion of all those negative stories about who you are, and since that is how you believe who you are, that identification with all those negative filters about yourself is going on. That's also how you see everyone around you. That's how you see the world, because you're looking at yourself through the same filters as you're looking at the world. Those are the same conditionings in your mind, based on separation, because the soul isn't separate. The soul lives in this unity awareness. So even though the soul and this density in the body absolutely also experiences the distance of bodies, absolutely the distance of bodies, and the seeming also standing alone of bodies, the separation, the apparent separation of bodies. However, when that isn't in your heart, when that's not what you're feeling, you feel the connection to all that is, then it's another experience. Then it's a whole other experience. And what comes also with this, when you are aware of your soul, and when you are grounded in your soul as your soul, when you experience yourself as your soul, the more that you have realized those beliefs that you were identified with about yourself, and you realize that they are beliefs, and you realize they have been conditioned, and that they are not who you really are. Well, they're first of all not who you really are. Are because it's a thought. You are not a thought. A thought is like a kind of an electrical weather energy pattern going on in your mind on a physical level, and then of course in the mind level, in the level of imagination, it also has an informational content. So the more you see through that conditioned mind, your conditioning, the more that your identification with it, that will be dissolved, and that energy flow that was attached and that was going also in that direction, because every time you think, that produces and also uses energy. And depending on if the thought is harmonious with the truth, so if it flows as a wave with the okay, I don't think I want to go into that, because I really want to, I've already talked about that actually, and I want to stay with the Messiah. So anyways, then you experience yourself more from the vantage point of your soul, and that's what is also called being asleep, is experiencing yourself through this perceptive filter that you are not aware of. So you have this image of yourself and the world that is not aligned with who you really are, that is not aligned in truth. It's simply an image. And so the soul regains its own energy that has been identified and flowing out there, and that exhausts itself after a while, after so many lifetimes, and also in a life, after so much suffering, when the soul is ready, when the soul is right, because that's really where it comes from, is how much experience the soul still wants to make, how where the soul is at in its evolutionary stage. And so all the souls that are ready to move on, that all the souls that are ready to ascend after this orbit of 26,000 years. So I don't know when was the last time, I guess 13,000 years ago when we actually 26, every 26, okay, anyways, that's I'm not sure when the last time was that the dimensions, that we fell from fifth into third. I don't know when that last time was, but at least 13,000 years ago. It was a while ago. Anyways. So the soul is ready. The soul is ripe. It's like primed through all this suffering. And now the light comes from the outside, and it also opens up. We open up from the inside, because those structures, the egoic structure, the egoic mind needs power. It is using energy, but it is not producing its own energy. It's different when the egoic mind is holding thoughts that are harmonious with the truth, that are like where separation is a conscious play. So that's the beauty of the egoic mind, that it enables this play, and that part doesn't create any suffering. That part is the part that creates the excitement of the play, the ecstasy of the play. And we wouldn't be able to experience that if we didn't have that sense of separation, and if we didn't have that sense of identification with this very particular form and character and history that imprinted us, that conditioned us, And then we get to come to a place of enjoying every little aspect of ourselves. Once we recognize who we really are, and we more feel ourselves as our souls, we can remember, in the remembering of who we are, we also come back into the love that we are, the love that we are. And with coming back into that, we start to see ourselves with the eyes of the soul, and that is resting in the divine, in the unity consciousness. So we come to see ourselves from that perspective, and we have compassion, we have understanding, we can forgive, and it's more like that the forgiving happens. The forgiving happens with the compassion and with the understanding, and then we can start to see ourselves and enjoy ourselves, enjoy all aspects of ourselves, and even the aspects that then are still in the dark, in the unconscious, that are still rooted in, that are still unconsciously identified. Now you are at that point of recognition, you are in a space of welcoming it, in a space of, oh yeah, I want to see it all, I want to see my whole shadow, because I want to bring everything that is still unconscious within me and creating pain or suffering or just unpleasantness for myself and for others. I want to bring it into the light of my awareness. I want to see what it truly, I want to see the truth about it, And by seeing the truth about it, by seeing it as what it is, as this belief, as this filter that is not who you are, and that is telling a story about you that is also not true, and a story about life that is also not true, because it is based in false premise of the belief that separation truly exists and is not an apparent thing, a sense, in a way, an illusion, but it's an illusion that on this level of existence is a seeming reality, and also perceived as a reality when it is believed, and that is suffering. So that's what I was just describing. All of that is the awakening of the soul in the body. It is awakening from that dream of separation, identified with the egoic mind that is based in separation. As I was talking about the two sides of the egoic mind. The egoic mind that is unconsciously based in separation, and the egoic mind where that is, so to speak, it is the soul aware of the egoic mind, aware of that program, and happily, like playing with it, It's like, oh yeah, that's part of this space-time vantage point spacesuit, and I love that feature. I love it. I love it. It gives me this whole experience of intricacy about this space-time vantage point, about this form, about this life form, and all the other souls in this life form, and it's amazing, amazing opportunity. So that's the egoic mind, a healthy egoic mind. That's the egoic mind in the back seat, not in the driver's seat. And in the back seat, I also see it like a dog, and I particularly like I'm imagining like this little chihuahua. This little chihuahua that's like that belongs to a family, and every time they walk outside or so. He just goes crazy barking at everyone. There's this typical behavior oftentimes with dogs when they're in an illusion that it's up to them, that they're the pack leader. And especially it's this, of course, especially with a small little dog like that, has a tiny little body, but he still has the consciousness of a wolf, of a dog, of like, whoa, I'm the pack leader. I gotta protect these guys, and he loves, that's his pack. Poor guy, poor guy. So he's like out there, whoa, stay away. And then when he gets set straight that, hey, you're not the pack leader, I'm the pack leader, by his owner. When he understands that he's not the pack leader, these dogs, whoa, they can relax, they can be themselves. Finally, they can enjoy life and have a good time. It's terrible as long as they believe they're the pack leader. They're not having a good time. Everyone is suffering, and that's how I kind of see the illusion of the egoic mind. And when the egoic mind recognizes its true purpose, which is not, first of all, the egoic, the identification with these beliefs that are based in the belief in separation. That will also make the egoic mind feel like that's who you are, because it's identified with this program, right? And so it feels like it's a thing. It feels like it's a life form of its own. So that's why this example doesn't even work, because it's not even a life form of its own. It's a total spell. It's a program that, when identified with, that's how you feel. And when recognized, you see it as a program. And then it's this really cool tool, and it's more like there's not a person sitting in the back seat. Apart from maybe, those that unconscious, wherever you're still unconsciously identified with it, then that'll feel like you're that, then that'll actually feel like that's the egoic mind wanting to be, because the egoic mind wants to be in the driver's seat, of course, because it doesn't know it's a program. It thinks it's you, so it wants to be in charge. And so it's afraid of not being in charge. And so that's why also it's kind of it's afraid of being recognized and found out, because it believes it needs to be in charge. But that belief, that power, only comes from yourself being unconsciously identified, because there is no it itself. There's no such life form. It's not even an organ, because an organ in your body, a cell in your body, it's a life form, this body is full of life forms onto its own, and then building in ever greater collectives living in this one body. the fan is on. I'll fix that first and then continue.